Let's do the form. How are you mentally? How are you feeling?
Okay. A little overwhelmed, but okay.
Well, tell you what. So looking at the time, it's like 20 of 12, right? There's two parts to the form. Okay. There's some stuff that we have to do in Acrobat before, and then there's tagging up the form after we've done the stuff in Acrobat. So maybe what we'll do is like do the pre-common look Acrobat stuff first, and then break for lunch, and then tag the form after lunch. Does that sound like your head could handle that?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Broke it up.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're going to need the form untagged, which is number 6. Please do not open Common Look when you open that. But you're also going to need the Word document, keyboard shortcuts, and JavaScript. So please open that Word document as well as form untagged.
Wait, what number?
Number 6. But do not open Common Look, please. Okay. So do we have both of those documents open? Word and form untagged. Okay. So now the problem with this form is with the radio buttons, right? Right here. Yesterday they were checkboxes. Okay. The problem with radio buttons is that, thanks Acrobat, they're inherently inaccessible. And the reason that they're inherently inaccessible is so that they work correctly, right? Radio buttons, the whole point of radio buttons versus checkboxes is that you get mutual exclusivity, where you can check one and then the other ones are turned off, and if you choose the second one, then it shuts off the first one, and so on, right? So you get yes-no answers that way, right? The problem with that is that for that functionality to work in Acrobat, they get placed into the same group, and they get given the same name. They're given the same name and the same tooltip, right? If you recall from forms yesterday, when somebody's in the mode to fill out the form, all they hear is the tooltip. So if 5 radio buttons all get the same tooltip, you think you're being asked the same question 5 times. Furthermore, if I hover my mouse over one of them, the tooltip is check appropriate box. So you're being asked 5 times to check the appropriate box, but you don't know how is one box any different from the other. Right? I'll just randomly choose this one then. Right? Pick C. Right? So that's the problem. Okay? So to fix the problem, we need to use JavaScript so that we can make the radio buttons still be mutually exclusive, but we give them different names so that we can give them different tooltips. All right? So that's where we're headed. Okay? So in Acrobat, up at the top right, you see where it says Tools. So please click Tools. And then do you see where it says Forms? Over on the right-hand side, you see Forms. Open that up. If you don't see Forms, there's a tiny little icon right here. If you click that, then you can get to Forms, right? So open up Forms and then choose Edit. And your screen looks like this now, right? So far, so good? Cool. So let's do it this way first. All right, so go to the first radio button, Individual Sole Proprietor. Right-click on it and choose Properties from the top of the context menu. And you get this Properties box to open up, right? Okay, so we're going to name these radio buttons, really highly technical here. Radio button 1, radio button 2, radio button 3, 4, and 5. Okay? But for the naming convention, the way that it's set up in the JavaScript, spell radio with a capital R. Don't put in a space, but capitalize the B in button. And then for the first one, don't put a space, just the number 1. So radio button 1, capital R, capital B, no spaces. Okay? Once you've typed that in, hit the Tab key. You get the tooltip highlighted, right? Just delete the tooltip. Hit the Tab key again. We're in Acrobat. That makes the change stick. Right? Then, at the top, the tabs at the top, go to the Options tab. And where it says radio button choice, IND, change that to individual with a capital I. And then hit the tab key again. Right? So, radio button 1, no tooltip, and on the options tab you've got individual. With me so far? Alright, so click on the second radio button. You don't need to close that box, you just click on the second radio button. Go to the General tab and name this one Radio Button 2. Again, capital R, capital B, no spaces. Hit the Tab key, delete the tooltip, hit the Tab key again, go over to the Options tab, make sure this says C Corporation. We're good there. So, okay. Click on the third radio button, go to the General tab, name this one Radio Button 3. Again, hit the Tab key, get rid of the tooltip, hit the Tab key again, and then the options is set to S Corporation. That's fine. Right? So choose the fourth radio button, go back to the General tab. You can probably figure out what we're going to name this one, right? Spelling counts, by the way. Remember to get rid of your tooltip. And on the options tab, I'm going to keep partnership. That's fine. And then the fifth radio button, name it. Get rid of your tooltip. Now on the options tab for this one, I'm going to delete everything after the word trust. Make sure that you delete the space after the word trust. JavaScript is really, really, really picky. And one time I did this and I left the space after the word trust, and it was really hard to find where my mistake was, because trying to see a space, right? That was pretty tricky. So hit the Tab key after you've edited it to make that change stick. Right? So, okay. Now go to your Word document and scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to find below all the tables of keyboard shortcuts, you're going to find JavaScript. Right? So highlight, you don't need to highlight the heading JavaScript for mutually exclusive radio buttons, but you do need, starting with variable A, all the way down to the little bracket at the bottom, right? So select that, copy it, and then go back to Acrobat. Are you with me so far? So go back how far? To the Word document?
Yeah.
Highlight that stuff and copy it. Control C, right click and copy, whatever. And then go back to Acrobat. That's where we left off. Are you with me now?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Now, click on the first radio button, right? Individual sole proprietor. And then in the radio button properties box, click the Actions tab. Okay. So where it says select trigger, right? In the drop down, there's various mouse options, and then there's on focus and on blur. So we're going to use two triggers. We have to do them one at a time, but we're going to use two. So for people using a mouse while filling out this form, when the mouse enters the field, you can make it do something. You can make it do something when people roll the mouse out of the field. When somebody pushes down on the mouse button, you can make it do something. And when somebody lets go of the mouse button, you can make it do something, right? So the trigger we want is mouse up, so that after somebody's clicked it and they let go, it gets selected, right? Then the action below that, where now it says execute a menu item, you want to click in there and you want to scroll down to find run a JavaScript. Okay? So mouse up, run a JavaScript, and then a little bit lower to the right, hit the button for add. Now, here's a pro tip for you. I like to make this box nice and wide so that when I add my JavaScript, which I'm just going to paste into there now, right, what should be on one line shows up on one line. If it's really narrow, then it gets more confusing, right? Okay. So are you with me so far? All right, now here's where things get even more fun. We have to edit our JavaScript, all right? So in this case here, we've got radio button 1 through 4, but we need to add one, right? So what I've done, right, is I've given you the generic JavaScript that you can use. It sets you up for 4 radio buttons. If you only have yes and no, then get rid of 3 and 4. You've just got 1 and 2, right? If you need more, you can add more. But here's everything that you need, right? And then you just got to tweak it as needed. So because we have 5 radio buttons, just copy in the top half, copy the line variable D, blah, 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 radio button 4, all that stuff, highlight it, copy it, and then paste it below itself. So now you have 2 variable D lines, right? And then just change the capital D to an E and change the name to radio button 5, right? So if you've got 18 radio buttons, you're going to paste in a whole bunch and give them new letters, give them new numbers, whatever. Then in the section below, copy the line where it says D value equals off, paste it below itself, and change the letter D to a capital E. All right? Because what this does, right? Here's all the names of the radio buttons. That's just the Cody stuff. And then, so if radio button A, right, radio button 1 is chosen, the one whose export value is individual, then it shuts off all of the other radio buttons, right? That's what that means, okay? So now, copy this whole JavaScript, right? And then hit OK. So you're back to this box, right? Then where it says select trigger, so on focus and on blur are for people who are using the keyboard to fill out their form, right? Tabbing in, tabbing out, whatever. So on focus is when somebody tabs into the field, and on blur, which is the one we want, is when somebody tabs out, right? So change your trigger to on blur. You're already on run a JavaScript, so that's fine. And then hit add, and then just paste in the JavaScript that you just copied, right? Okay, and then hit OK. So there's your first radio button. So select the second one, right? Your trigger is on mouse up. You're on run a JavaScript, so hit the add button. Paste in your JavaScript, but we have to edit the bottom half, right? So for this one, remember the radio button choice was C Corporation, right? So here we want to change, in the bottom half, we want to change if B, right? This is the second radio button. So if B value equals C Corporation, so get rid of individual, and below that, where it says B value equals off, change it to A, right? So if somebody chooses the second radio button, B, then A, C, D, and E are turned off, right? So copy all of that now. Hit OK. Change your trigger to on blur. Hit add and paste. With me? Hit OK. Click the third radio button. You're on mouse up. You're on run a JavaScript. Hit add, paste. In the bottom half, change the capital B to a capital C. And then where it says C Corporation, we want to change that to S Corporation. And then below there, we want to make sure that A, B, D, and E are turned off. Right? So change the C to a B. Are you following me? and then copy all of that, hit OK, change your trigger to on blur, and paste it in. Still with me?
Yeah.
Do I need to talk you through the other two, or can you take it and run with it? Choose the one for partnership, hit add, paste, change the bottom half. Of course, you're going to do it for the last radio button as well. When you're done, you can hit the button either down here or the red X at the top to close this. So let me know when you're done with that and closed and you're back to here, right? Kind of go like this or something. Awesome. Good, good. Cool. I don't hear any more typing, so.
So, okay, I did a mistake. I didn't change to mouse to blur.
Okay.
So I have two Java running, so what do I do? Just click, just say one out, the listing.
No, I never do. They usually ask me. This is the kind of stuff.
There's no maybe.
So you probably have to contact this. What is recording? Never have. No. And not to say that I never will, but.
So right click on the radio button,
I will.
choose properties, and then so run it with the mouse up and run job, and then you hit the add button. You were already on run JavaScript, right? Yeah. So then you just hit the add button.
Okay, here's my question. If you're on a document like this, and if it's like, I don't know, does it need?
All right, how are we doing then?
Okay, we're good.
Okay, good?
Yeah.
All right, now here's how you check your work, right? See up here where it says close form editing?
Yeah.
Choose close form editing. Here's your moment of truth. Start clicking around in your radio buttons, and if you can select one, and when you select the next one, the first one shuts off, you know you did it right. If they stay on, you know you messed up somewhere.
So then, can we go back?
Yeah.
How do we go back? Okay.
You have to go back to edit and choose the radio buttons and fix stuff. Right? So if you've got multiple radio buttons that stay on, right, I would check not only the JavaScript, but I would also check to make sure that you named the radio buttons correctly. You didn't put 3 T's into the word button, for example. I've seen that happen. You named them radio buttons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You removed the space after the word trust. That was mine one day. C Corporation. Somebody one time for the radio button choice on this one, they typed in partnerships, right? So the radio button choice is actually partnership, but then in the JavaScript it said partnerships. So like the S threw everything off. You know, so check your spelling and stuff, right? Yeah, delete the spaces. It's really, really picky. How did we do? Is yours good?
Yeah.
I just took notes on this one.
Okay.
I didn't want to overload my brain.
Cool. Sure. How did yours
She
do?
just watched.
Yeah.
Let's get back here.
I
Nice
can
work.
So,
How are we doing back here?
This guy
Take a note.
Now I get
How did yours work?
I get the nexus to my program.
You don't even worry about that. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Okay, that's not like the tagging or anything like that. That's just like the order that they were put into the document. It doesn't even matter. But did your radio buttons work correctly? Well, you want to close format. Yep. And then start clicking on it to see. There you go. See, you choose one, the other one shut off. Oops. So there's a mistake between these two. So go back to edit.
It always is.
So I would start with going to the right. So
But
spell radio buttons
usually, like,
work correctly.
the worst part,
Go to the options.
so
So
I
partnership.
just got promoted in,
That's both.
so because
So go to actions.
before I was at single
Click on the job description. Edit.
Yes. And,
So you're on the 6th.
yes. And so I'm doing all these new things, but I had to recently learn page maker
Okay,
7.0, which is
So
like.
click OK. Click on the sorry, click on the last.
And I was so
That's
mad
probably fun.
because that's what I'm saying. I'm like, so,
Click on
Well, there are other
the
programs
first
that
thing,
right.
so I posted,
So
and
check
I
the first one,
posted
pick a
an
name,
opinion
clear
on
the
page
button.
maker. I
Let's
didn't
look very good.
because we put them in the recorder.
Did you get rid of the space after the word trust?
But I'm like, let's see.
There you go. Hit the tab key.
And so now that went smoothly. Like, I was gonna take me around page maker. I'm
I
like,
don't know, maybe, but it's really picky. So go, no, hit the extra step. Yeah, and just click on that.
he was hard to now work on Antonio.
I bet it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hit OK.
But,
Kind of do the same thing.
oh
So
yeah.
close up here.
Yeah, comes up to the
I don't hear all
See,
that.
it's already shut off. Cool.
She's like,
So it's the space after the word trust, right? And the only reason I know that's because I did the same thing for about 15 minutes before I did one day. So there you go. Did yours work?
Yeah, and then whatever, and then what she sent me, so I looked at it, I was like, watch the right thing. I did
Oh.
Okay, awesome.
But I didn't wanna like put it back in the list, but I was like, okay, moving forward.
Alright, so how are we
It won't happen.
I'm not sure what happened.
I did.
Right, okay, so here's the thing, right? So this says trust slash estate, right? But, if we go back to, right, see, that says trust or estate, so the or estate versus the slash, it's gotta be that, right? So I would just get rid of everything after the word trust, right? So put the cursor after the word trust. Hit the tab key. Hit the tab key. Right. Now, go to actions and edit your JavaScript. Right, so click that and then choose the edit button. And then get rid of slash estate. Yep. There you go. So copy all of that.
Kind of add things up too.
Right,
So,
click
okay,
OK.
something did happen.
Edit that one, yes, very good.
But it didn't.
Paste, all you gotta do is paste.
And you're like, you just kind of observe and take.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, close that, close form editing. Right, so, okay, so there's other stuff that can be fixed as well. Click there though. All right, yeah, so go to edit. Right click. So, hang on a second, you go to the general tab. So, where you looking for? Okay, go to the options tab, please. Options. Partnership, good. Click actions. Yep, go there, edit, very good.
And plus I was already working with communication, so it's not You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what?
All right. Okay, so click OK on that one.
I think I'm pretty.
Click on the radio button.
Yeah.
For S Corporation.
If we
So
go
go to the
beyond
general tab.
lunch,
No, you're already there. So go to
but it, you know, like how.
the create options tab.
I don't expect to be.
Actions. Click on the
And
run up here.
the job is the job. There are certain levels of expectation. I do this information up to. I feel like I don't have.
You trust yourself enough that you know you'll be fine.
Right.
I know.
That
It's like,
and.
It looks right. Okay, so go ahead.
They don't
Okay.
I've been here 7
Click
years.
on
I know. I've
the
been
radio
7
button for
years.
C Corporation.
I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
professionalism, appearance.
Spelled radio wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're fine.
But I do understand that business
Yeah,
decisions.
just type in. That's it though.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. Especially right now with the.
So, yeah, just try it. Go
I
ahead
also
and
think
close.
that maybe as
Okay,
I
tap
learn,
it. Yep,
it
very
becomes
good.
more
Close, there you go. Try it. Let's just go do close format editing.
It's great, yeah, but you
See that?
So maybe.
It's just the one. Yep. All right. Okay, so sorry, we're 5 minutes over what our target time was. Once you've got your JavaScript working correctly, I need to do what you probably need to do. So close form editing, right? Now you've got your form that you're about to publish online after we tag it up and everything with one of the questions already answered, right? So over in the forms part where it says more form options, choose clear form, right? It's the only way to deselect a radio button, right? Check boxes, you can check them and uncheck them. Radio buttons, you can't, right? It's one of their other differences. Last thing before lunch, go over to the tags on the left-hand side. And Catherine, this should answer the question that you were asking me about before, right? So go over to the tags where it says no tags available, right-click and choose add tags to document. Now your document's tagged. Not correctly, we're going to fix it after lunch, but at least it's got tags that we can work with now, right? Save your work, right? Just click the little disk icon or whatever, save it, okay? Here's a little pro tip for you too. If you've got form fields in your document and you need to add JavaScript, you want to take care of that stuff before adding tags. If you don't have form fields in your document, but it came from somewhere else and it's already got tags, I would delete the tags, add your form fields, and then add tags again. Because if you have a tagged PDF and then you add all of these form fields to it, they all go into the untagged side. And then you have to bring them all over, which can be done, but it's a lot more cumbersome than starting with them all over in the tag side, and then you just have to change the reading order or whatever. Okay, so a little tip for you. Anyways, you got your JavaScript worked, you added tags to your document, we're ready to eat, and then we can remediate this sucker after lunch. So if you saved your work, good. If you didn't, please save your work before you go to lunch, and I'll see you at 10 after 1. Have a nice lunch. So, oh yeah. So,